Economic disaster. This could crash all US tech. Or did China do it? What's up, fam? Mr. Beckman here with Infinite TV, and this news is breaking news. This could result, unfortunately, in all major US technology companies and their physical consumer electronic devices and even their vehicles crashing super hard. And unfortunately, what I'm about to show you has really, really seriously negative consequences for both the United States economy and the United States companies internationally. Check it out. I've got it here on my screen for you. Okay, so many of you have probably already seen this $1 trillion building project that Saudi Arabia has announced. Okay, it is called, they're calling it a landscraper because it's not a skyscraper anymore. It's called the Line, okay? And it's a very long $1 trillion mega development that Saudi Arabia is planning. The Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is planning it right now. Okay, it's an enormous, enormous project. And it's actually kind of a very interesting architectural thing here that we've got going on. You let me know below in the comments if you'd be interested in living in it. It's very interesting. It's all mirrored on the outside. It doesn't disturb the natural landscape, and everything's inside. They're going to have a speed train so you can go back and forth. They're projecting it could be home to 5 million residents, which is insane. You can see here another image of how big they're expecting it to be, and they're aiming it to extend no fewer than 75 miles across desert and mountain terrain. So basically it'd be 100% inside. You'd have epic views. It would be like you're looking at one city street currently, but rather than filling up an entire geographic area that spans over the course of diameters in miles, they're planning on making it one solid straight line. So what does this have to do, okay, with potentially all major US technology companies crashing? Well, recently there have been a number of news stories, okay, and I've got you here a few of them pulled up, that China tried to infiltrate, or that Chinese hackers might have infiltrated the Taiwan semiconductor industry, okay? And this article you can see here is actually 3 years old already. So basically what's happened is, as Saudi Arabia was doing this major bid for this $1 trillion project, they had put out bids to US technology companies for the 5G technology, for the cell phones, for the computers. And believe it or not, now in your new vehicle where you can connect your phone and your music comes up, there's obviously a lot of computers in your vehicle as well. So if you have a US manufactured vehicle, there are a lot of computers in that. Now, when Saudi Arabia put out this bid recently, and it's not as easy for me to find you the exact news sources to demonstrate what I'm about to tell you, but as I find them, stay tuned and I will be sharing them with you. But apparently recently, for this contract, which is a $1 trillion contract, obviously you would think that Saudi Arabia might be most interested in using things like the iPhone, things like the Apple computers, US technology, these sorts of things. But apparently the cutting edge breaking news that I have for you right now, which I just heard from a very large private investment fund manager. This guy manages a ton of money, so he's definitely in the know for things that we might be learning together as a community even before the news hits the mainstream media. Apparently, they just canceled the bid for this $1 trillion project with all US technology manufacturers. And rather, they gave the business to a Chinese, basically like the Apple of China. They make cell phones and computers. It's called Huawei. Now, why would they do that? So it turns out, I know many of you have seen in the news right now a lot of the conflict surrounding China potentially invading Taiwan. But do you even know why Taiwan's constantly in the news and why the United States would be protecting them against Chinese invasion? Well, it's because for decades now, all of the microchips, the semiconductor chips that go in every single electronic device, every cell phone, every laptop, and every vehicle that are made by United States companies, believe it or not, they're almost exclusively made in Taiwan. Now, why is that the case? I don't exactly know, but I've actually heard something along the lines of, it's such a hard to make complicated technology. Taiwan figured it out and only they can do that. But obviously you think everyone could do that. Obviously South Korea has very, very large technical companies like Samsung And they make a ton of consumer electronic devices, including the Samsung cell phones. So obviously they're able to make it. One would imagine that South Korea is able to do it. Obviously China and Huawei are able to do it. But here's the cutting edge breaking story that I heard, and I'm sharing it with you because it's coming from such a trusted source. I usually don't share anything with you unless I can pull up on screen share the evidence to share with you. But I did find something that's very interesting that might confirm what I'm about to tell you. So it turns out that although, as you can see here, from the articles I'm showing you, that Chinese hackers were accused of infiltrating the Taiwan superconductor, the semiconductor, these microchip factories, and trying to install a back door on these microchips that would then go into every single US manufactured electronic device, cell phone, computers, laptops, and vehicle. All right. What it's apparently been determined, apparently recently, by Saudi Arabia, and this is what really verifies that, or would prove this if this is true, is that actually the NSA has now been accused of installing a spying technology, a backdoor is what it's called, on all the chips that come out of Taiwan. Now, that's supposedly why Saudi Arabia has now canceled all US electronics manufacturers' technologies, the 5G wireless technology, the cell phones, the computers, and the vehicles. Now, if that is true, this is an enormous alarm, a signal that you need to be aware of this, because if you're currently holding stocks related to US consumer electronic device manufacturers, including vehicle companies, because the computers are in the vehicles, then that would mean that basically the National Security Agency here in the United States was spying on every single person that has one of these devices. So it doesn't even matter if you thought you were using an encrypted app like Signal or Telegram or WhatsApp. They were, and could very well, if this is true, they could very well have been spying, or at least have had access to the data this entire time. If what I'm telling you right now is true, and Saudi Arabia canceled the deal as a result of this, then it could get even worse for the United States economy, because the United States consumer electronic device manufacturers are some of the biggest revenue generating companies in the United States. They employ the most people, they reinvest the most monies into the United States economy. And if that's true, if in fact the NSA is found guilty of installing a backdoor spying technology on all US consumer devices, then that will also mean the actual governments of the various countries, like politicians, presidents, prime ministers, members of their parliament and their cabinet, members of the government, including government employees and various government departments, might not, if this is true, they will not be able to legally use US-made consumer devices, electronic devices. So if this is true, and I obviously really hope it's not, this would be an absolute economic disaster for the United States. That would mean all physical devices, cell phones, computers, laptops, even vehicles, I can't imagine they'd be recalled, but the governments would not be allowed to use them. Government employees would not be allowed to use them, because governments have secrets that they don't want getting out there to whomever. They definitely don't want the United States intelligence officials gaining access to them. And the breaking news information I've heard is that Huawei, the Chinese manufacturing company, presented the proof and evidence to the Saudi Arabian government that's preparing to spend $1 trillion, that's $1,000 billion on the line construction project. And then they showed their Saudi Arabian cybersecurity experts the open patents, the proof and the evidence that Huawei is not installing backdoor spying software on their cell phones, computers, laptops, and the softwares that would go into the vehicles. And apparently right now, the breaking news, the cutting edge information I'm sharing with you right now is that Saudi Arabia has moved for this $1 trillion contract, all of the jobs that they had previously awarded to American manufacturing companies exclusively to Huawei. So if that's true, that is nuts. Now, as I showed you over here, previously, Chinese hackers were being accused of this, and that's what's in the media. Mind you, it's exclusively American media, so it could be true. It might not be true. Well, what I found for you very interestingly was that in March of last year, actually, China accused the NSA of including a cyber weapon on these chips made in Taiwan, installed on all US consumer electronic devices. So now you have to decide, based on the evidence that I'm presenting to you, who do you believe? I know a lot of the United States media obviously weaponizes and vilifies China. Now, China is run as a communist country. I personally have met many Chinese people who live there in China currently, who have immigrated out of China since, and they're normal human beings, obviously, just like you and I. They're nice people. They're great business people, and they really just want a safe, secure life for their families. They obviously want to prosper too, just like you and I. So let's say that we agree all humans are equal. The majority of us are good people. We want to do good by each other. We, in fact, want to do commerce and trade with each other. Then who's really at fault? Who's the villain in this scenario? Is it the United States NSA or is it Chinese hackers? I'll let you decide. However, the most recent breaking news here that I just heard was that now the NSA has been caught dead to rights installing this software, this spying software. It's called spyware on every US consumer electronics device. Now, if that is true, and I were the United States government, I would definitely be trying to prevent that news from breaking on all international US media. As always, I've told you since I started making these videos, I'm super busy right now, focused on building INFYNIT TV, INFYNIT Social, and the 100% secured, 100% insured I2 financial solution. So I'm doing my utmost to make the time to record these videos for you. But the only reason I have to do it is because the mainstream media news, in my opinion, is not doing their job. They're not giving you the actual information of what's actually happening in global world economics, in the financial industry, in the financial technology industry. So I'm sharing it with you. And if you can learn this information quickly enough and empower yourself with alternatives to take action quickly enough, then you can take advantage of opportunities to benefit and prosper financially, just like the rich do. So this was crazy. Basically, everything here that Chinese hackers are being accused of, now China's accusing the NSA of doing. All right, which is very, very interesting. Now, many of you might remember Edward Snowden. A number of years ago, actually, he was the individual who worked with the NSA. He said, hey, just so you guys know, I think the American public deserves to know the NSA is spying on everyone. He had to flee the country. They tried to arrest him. They said that what he did by unveiling the proof and the evidence that the National Security Association was in fact spying on American citizens was illegal and was a threat to the security of the United States. Others have argued, in fact, that it was totally legal and totally just for Edward, a United States citizen, to tell the rest of the world and American citizens, in fact, that their government was spying on them. But he was persecuted. He ended up living in an airport for a really long period of time in Russia that he managed to escape to quickly enough. He has then since been allowed and accepted by Russia to live there, and he's not being persecuted anymore. And he's even able to show up as a guest on episodes like the Joe Rogan podcast, and he's even been able to publish a book. It is very interesting what he says. But if what Edward Snowden shared with us was true all those years ago, that the NSA in fact was spying on its US citizens, that they were in fact installing spying software on US commercial electronic devices, and if we had just listened to him, if the United States people truly listened instead of him being vilified as the bad guy in the news, but if they had reacted, if they had said, okay, it might have been happening, if perhaps they identified the intelligence agencies that were operating as executives or employees in big tech companies in the United States, if they would have removed them and if they would have made changes right then and there all those years ago, then perhaps right now, if this Saudi Arabia story of canceling this $1 trillion deal is true, we could have prevented all of this. Because you've got to imagine, just do the math. One of the biggest companies in the world is Apple. They make a lot of cell phones. They sell a lot of computers. If this NSA backdoor is true, that means every single device they currently have on market cannot be trusted. And they'll have to make changes now. And the transition between this news breaking that I'm telling you right now, which is not broke in mainstream media, and the transition between that news breaking and them coming up with new devices in the future that don't have spyware on them and them regaining the trust is going to be disastrous if it turns out to be true. Now, I've got a few other articles pulled up for you. This one was from Reuters. The U.S. court mass surveillance program exposed by Snowden was illegal. So they're not complimenting him. They're not commending him. They're saying, hey, Snowden doing this was illegal, which leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. And basically, I pulled up this Guardian article here for you, which came out 2 years ago. 7 years afterwards, the United States courts are still saying that what Snowden shared with the world all those years ago was totally illegal. So thank you very much for watching this YouTube video. If you like this, if you found this of value, you have to hit the like button. You have to leave a comment, believe it or not, and you have to make sure that you're subscribed to this video and turn your notification settings to all. Otherwise, the YouTube algorithm will penalize this video. They will give it a negative effect so that it's not shared with more people, because they've said just the fact that you watch it or that you watch it all the way through, it's not enough. Their algorithm is designed so that if you don't hit the like button, if you don't leave a comment, and if you're not subscribed, if you don't subscribe and turn your notification settings to all, this is not good content. So please, for the sake of YouTube algorithms, like the video, comment, subscribe, turn your notification settings to all. And actually, I would love to hear from you. If you leave a comment below, about once a week, I'm able to make the time to get around to do my best to respond to all of your comments. And if you didn't know it yet, click the link below, go to INFYNIT TV and sign up for the premium uncensored membership right now so that you can gain access to the i2 financial solution. It is the first ever fully secured, fully insured alternative solution for your money. It is blockchain backed, 100% on chain. It gives you access to merchant processing if you have a business. It gives you access to storage of your money, but now you're not limited to only the fiat currency of your country. You could buy gold or silver instantly. You could buy Bitcoin. You could buy Zaggle coin. You can buy whatever you want. And it also has a fully uncensored peer-to-peer system built into it, an alternative to PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App. It's absolutely incredibly amazing, and it's coming right at the perfect timing. Thank you very much for watching this. This is Mr. Beckman with INFYNIT TV. Be well.